What's going on, world? It's your man, Mr. Mac.
And I'm Crystal Leven.
This is the M+M+M Show, aka the show, coming to you live and direct with a woman who I go back with, like fat laces on shell toes, maybe not, but just about close enough in this method of modern love era. She and I are tight like cornrows on Leroy and Fame. Look it up. She's also super cool with my co-host, and that makes her super cool in general, but don't take my word for it. Darling, could you please state your name so people know I'm not lying?
My name is Angelique Miles.
Right.
It's the homie.
Influencer and fitness model and like beauty and inspirational person on this, like, you know, health and glamour journey that she's been on over the last couple of years. It's just
fighting ageism, all kind of things.
Oh yeah, like and winning. Like this, I don't even think it's a fight. It's like a slaughter right now.
Oh, it's a fight. It's a fight.
I love following your Instagram. Just by the way, first of all, it's Angelique Miles is your whole Instagram, right? Just so people can Google it right at the beginning, so they know who we're talking to.
Yeah.
I think we should do that, especially in our shows, because when people listen to it live, they don't see it, so they don't know who. They need a visual. So if you're listening right now on Fubu Radio on the iHeart app,
which you should be.
It's spelled ANGELIQUEMILES, because you know some people do not know how to spell Angelique correctly.
right? Right. So anyway, type in Angelique Miles. Check out who we're talking about. It's really fun to follow your Instagram. We try to avoid talking about age on this show a lot of times because of the way that people perceive age.
Mm-hmm.
So you talk to a woman and she's over 40, all of a sudden like, oh, she's out of my like age range, or you make assumptions about her mentality, and a guy is under a certain age, so he's too young to date, or he's dumb still. And I do this in my head, even though I wouldn't verbalize some of those things because it's not nice or it's not PC or whatever. But it's really fun that you post about your age and break down the barriers or expectations.
I'm proud. First of all, it's like if you're not getting older, you're dead.
Right.
So you might as well embrace it. Like you can't, you can choose to embrace it and live being your best self, or you can just be sad and mopey about it and
deny
and not be your best self.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I've never one of the main reasons I like to stay away from age in general on this show specifically is because I've noticed that people normally use it to, like Crystal alluded to, put you in a box very quickly, very mentally. They're sizing up what level of respect they need to give you. They're sizing up how much they think you know, and then they're sizing up how useful they believe you are. And I like to take that out of the conversation from the door. Number one, it's 9 times out of 10, whatever we're talking about, I find that the age of the person I'm speaking to is irrelevant. And the age of information, the only thing that matters is experience and knowledge. I don't know what you've experienced at any age. I know a lot of people who live to be in their, who like are in their 60s and 70s. They didn't do much. They just kind of, they worked one job. They went one way. They had one woman. They, as far as diversity and adversity is concerned, they can't really tell you too much about anything, but we give them this OG status because they stuck around.
Right.
Then I know 16-year-olds who are paying the rent, who have, dealt drugs strictly to pay the rent. Like I know 18-year-olds with full families who, joined the military, traveled the world, and their experience is going to be different. If I went on them and if I went to speak to one of them and heard, oh, you're only 18, and put the only in front of it, oh man, you only 18, you don't know nothing. Like I already did them a disservice. I'm doing myself a disservice because there's all kinds of stuff I could have learned from that 18-year-old. And vice versa, putting somebody in a box because they're over 40, you cut yourself off from whatever information that person could give you, all the experience that person has, all the knowledge, all the things they've lived through. I had a situation with my dad. Right, I had a situation with my father. Well, he would always make me come up with my own conclusions. He would never tell me what the answer was. He always wanted me to think and process it. One day I was having a specific issue. I got frustrated with him because he wouldn't just give me the answer. And I could tell by the look on his face, he already knew what I needed to do, but he was making me go through the paces, and it was pissing me off. I got frustrated. Yeah. And I went, you know what? Never mind. I got it. And he went, so what are you going to do? And I said, I'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. He was like, no. I want to know. I was like, listen, he was like, I know you didn't come up with it that quick.
Right.
And I got insulted. I got in my ego, and I said, listen, you old, I'm young. I think quicker than you. Right? Yeah. Granted, I was 19, maybe 18, 19, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Big for your britches.
Yeah, actually, maybe closer to like 16, 17 when I said it. And my father, in all his infinite wisdom, just leaned his head back and laughed at me. And he laughed like hard, like hard laughing, like he was banging
like
on
better
the
than
table.
A slap to the face. Just
he was just laughing, like, oh my God, laughing. And I stopped. I was like, what's so funny? I came back outside after like a couple months. I said, what's so funny? He was like, no, you're right. He was like, you young, you think quick. The problem is I'm grown. I saw it coming. So which one would you rather be? Mm-hmm. Quick thinking you or see it coming me? And I felt
my dad always told me, I've forgotten things you don't even know yet. So that's basically what your dad was saying.
Yeah. And I tell people the Lionel Richie story. He was sitting on a plane and he was telling the story as I saw it on Instagram. And somebody said, you know, if you wanted to give advice to somebody that's younger than you and, you know, wants to be rich, famous, successful, whatever, as you, like you've lived a great life and stuff. And he was like, never argue with anyone. And the guy was like, yeah, but you have so much to say and you could probably teach them and explain things better than they even know. He goes, you know what, you're right.
You don't know.
Like you could just get way ahead of the riffraff, the sort of the BS, whatever is going on in quick thinking, because quick thinking can also go in circles. Quick thinking can be a ziggly zaggly line. You can just get more streamlined, I think.
That experience,
if you're paying attention and growing, not just living longer.
But how to do that comes with experience. Like right. 9 times out of 10, you either watch somebody else go through it or you did it yourself. But you cut yourself off and you dead that. Mm-hmm. One of hip hop's biggest problems is ageism. It's the fact that we dead our legends. We consider them washed up at 40 and we start deading them. Meanwhile, Jay-Z is what at 50? Like, look at what the man is. He didn't do that in his 20s. He did that now, but everything he's doing is a head start for you getting started in your 20s. But if you ignore him because he's over 40, you're insisting on doing things the hard way, and that's never made sense to me.
I don't think he's ignored.
No, Jay isn't, because it's Jay.
Because
he's got the cool factor for so long.
Yeah, like and Jay is Jay, but Jay is rare.
He's extremely wealthy. So, like, you know,
I was listening to
a 50-year-old and say, this is how I did it, because he's, you know,
we don't give that same
show for it.
We don't give that same love to somebody like Big Daddy Kane. You know what I mean? Who's not that much older than Hov, if I'm not mistaken. They may be like a couple years off. We don't give that kind of love to him. He has to go overseas to get the same kind of love that he should get here.
I was listening to The Breakfast Club, I believe yesterday. And by the time this airs, it won't have been yesterday. But because I don't even know what order these are in anymore. We are trying to catch people when we can. But they were talking about, they had a tech guy on, and he was talking about basically Black people in tech and saying, like, why don't kids want to get into you know, technical careers? It's because we see basketball players on TV, we see rappers on TV, and they look like they're living a great life. And like, how do we convince them? He goes, you just have to see the rich ones. He said, you know, like realizing that these guys are driving boats into their boats is like, it's and those are the, you know, that, you know, rich white guys, but we've always seen rich white guys. So it's seeing in really, really successful tech dudes that look like you, that look like, you know, when you're young, and that's what's inspiring. Like people that wanted to be women seeing female vice president. It's a really big deal. Yeah. Black and brown girls seeing that vice president, you know what I mean? Like that's a huge deal, seeing it represented, seeing people doing what you could possibly do, or even putting the idea in your head. So even back to you, like women seeing that they can stay fit and stay healthy, stay beautiful, stay whatever, young looking, stay, fountain of
They
youth,
fine as
wherever.
fuck. Go ahead.
Oh, now you're the one cursing, huh?
Oh, thank you.
Yep. I believe this warrants it.
Yes. So a guy at a bar yesterday, I was stopped by to pick up my girl, a friend of mine, and he said something about bodybuilding, and he goes, yeah, but I'm 45, so that that ship sailed. And I go,
No,
because you were tired of it? Because
Right.
there's plenty of people that are still bodybuilding very successfully if they want to, if they, it all comes down to what you give importance to.
Right.
If you find it important to be slim, fit, or whatever, or if you like dad bod, or if you like, some more cushion for the pushing or whatever. Some people enjoy some size and some people want to stay lean. Yeah, but whatever you find important. Yeah. Whatever you find important, like you can continue that most of your life. There's women that get, super fit at 70.
That's right.
Bodybuilding at 84. Like it happens.
Right. And sometimes it's a matter of survival. It's not even just good. It's like, all the health issues that plague Black women as we get older.
Finding out you're pre-diabetic or something. You're like, oh, yeah, I need to get this together.
So many things that plague us, our community, that it would behoove you just to be healthy. It's not really about, looks come with it, but sometimes it's not really about that. It's just about not having high blood pressure, not having high cholesterol, not having,
anxiety and depression come with,
for me,
unhealthy stuff. Yeah.
For me, it helped me overcome. I just, coming out of the music industry, well, not just coming out of the abrupt exit. And I was very depressed because, if you're in that, you're where I was in the music industry, it became my life. And, the people in it became my so-called friends, and the money was good. So when it all that ended too. And I had to do something that, people weren't calling, people I thought were friends weren't calling me back or emailing me back. And, I had the Midas touch at one time, everything was under my control. Now nothing was in my control except for how I treated my body, what I could do to my body, how I could change my body, it gave me something to do, and it gave me a purpose. So I think it really saved me from being more depressed than I could have been.
That's exactly why I got back into it.
Yeah.
And it was after music too. I had breast cancer at the end, or when I was 27. Well, I was 27. But the point is, like, because of health issues, I wasn't in studio, couldn't afford certain things. I got sued by my manager for breach of contract because I couldn't, because I was sick. But anyway, so then, hair was falling out, I had some surgery and stuff. And then I was like, I didn't want to be like this weird Barbie puppet with new boobs and like in the music, but not in the, like, trying to be famous. And the gym was the only thing I could control. Like what I ate, how I controlled my, actual physical workings, you know what I mean? So yeah. Right. And it turned into bodybuilding, which was also body dysmorphic, trying to get too perfectly chiseled, trying to control it too much. Right. So like I told somebody recently that I'm really about balance. I don't really even want to portray or perpetrate the idea of some sort of perfection, because too much muscle is not healthy for your heart or your joints, even if it's an impressive goal. And I take nothing away from professional bodybuilders that are coming in there 300 pounds of pure muscle. It's amazing, but it's not necessarily sustainable or healthy.
Right.
Running 100-mile marathons.
I thought about it for a minute.
It's extreme.
Yeah, it's so extreme. I thought about it, and I think I maybe ate that way for a week. I was like, oh, this is not for me.
What were you trying to do? You thought about what?
I thought about bodybuilding years ago, like maybe 5 years ago when I really was getting into fitness. I was training with a woman who was a bodybuilder in physique, no less, not bikini.
Yeah, those are the big girls, bigger girl, yeah.
So she was trying to encourage me
strong women.
Bikini, and you know how small you have to be.
That's me.
And I was already going through, my body was I was in my 40s by this time. My body was already going through changes. That would have just been, I think my hormones would have gone haywire had I tried to manipulate my system in that way, So I think the eating part, I was like, I want to train like a bodybuilder. I just don't want to eat like that. Like it was just way too restrictive for me. And it
and regimented. It's not that there's no joy in eating at that point. It's like a machine. You're feeding a machine. Like you're really trying to create an end process. So it has nothing to do with, flavors and social gathering. Yeah.
And to your point, I was into the social media thing by that time, and I realized what I was doing was resonating with people, and I was like, I want to do something realistic, something attainable. I don't want to pursue something that's really unattainable to most people. So I was like, I just want to
the pinnacle of one peak that nobody can get to.
Right. I'm like, I just want to be really healthy and fit and love the way I look in and out of clothes. You know what I mean? I don't want to necessarily be extreme. So I just, I settled into that. I think I ran a half marathon instead because I'm like, okay, I don't know I can't really run. So let me challenge myself with that. And I did that.
How was that? Do you like running?
No, I hate running.
I hate running too.
I hate running. And the people were like, oh, once you run the half marathon, you're gonna want to run the full one. I was like, no, I'm not. This is the last and final.
But it's goal attained, achieved.
I messed up my left leg still isn't right.
I trained for a what do they call, like a relay with a group out in Oregon, because my friend, I just did it because I wanted to hang out with like the certain people that I don't get to see. So I was like, yes, whatever you guys are doing, I'll do. So I trained I got up to my 7-mile like long runs in the park, and I got a stress fracture in my foot.
See,
my little ballet feet aren't meant for pounding the concrete.
No, I'm not. Some bodies are not meant for running.
Yeah, for distance.
Some long distance running. And after, I went through physical therapy because, like I said, my left leg was like, we don't like you anymore. And I went through physical therapy, and my physical therapist was like, no more long runs, like 3 to 5 miles tops. And I was like, you don't have to worry about that.
Like, oh, don't slow me down, sir.
What are you doing? What are you doing for cardio now?
I have a Peloton bike.
Oh, there you go.
Which do
you like the? Go ahead.
I like the camaraderie of spin class. I don't know if I like spinning alone in a room by myself.
Right.
Like it was cool during the pandemic because
that was your option.
Yeah, that was my option. But now, when gyms are open, I do like the stair mill. I don't like it, but I think it's what works best for me. And I like a good running class, though. Like Peloton has some good running classes that I like that are interesting.
I know people falling in love with the Peloton instructors because it's like your new homie at home.
Yeah. It's like I'm
like the only camaraderie you have.
Alex Tucson in the street. I'd be like, what's up, Alex? And he wouldn't know, who I am. But
like, I hang out with you every morning. What are you talking about?
No, you do not.
Like you said what's up to me the other day. You shouted me out.
I sure did. Yep. Definitely. Don't know who you are though. Like not even remotely. I want to get into.
I'm sure they get that all the time.
Any public figure starts to, and you're like.
But speaking, great. Speaking of public figures, I want to get into two things. Number one, I want to point out that I helped Angelique with a hashtag like a couple years ago when she was just getting started on this whole thing. Like I'm super proud of where she is now because she's blown it out the frame. She did everything that we talked about, plus a bunch of stuff that we hadn't even come up with. And now it's just out and out and amazing. So every time I see you, like your numbers go up, I'm always on the side like,
thank you.
We did that. And the other thing is I want to get into what you were doing before you started inspiring all these people on Instagram. You alluded to a hasty exit from the music business, but I don't think people, like if you weren't around at that time, I don't think people know what your story is. Like this current incarnation is so all encompassing. Yeah. It almost feels like you came out of the blue and people don't know that you have a legit history in like, in the world of entertainment, like a legit one, like not no bullshit, like a real solidified stamped history.
Right. This is my second career. And
yes, thank you.
I'm very proud of myself for that because it wasn't like people were like, oh, people who do know the story, they're like, oh, that pivot is crazy. I'm like, yeah, but it wasn't really a pivot. It was more like a long, winding, bumpy road with obstacles and quicksand and,
fell off a mountain and had to go around the other side and climb back.
It was a long journey. So I don't consider it a pivot at all. But I was a music publishing executive for many years, beginning in the 90s. I started at Warner Chappell. Well, also, I was an A&R assistant from like 90 to 93. I worked with the guy that signed Roof Theory. I worked at Hammer's label, as an A&R assistant. And there's a nice story about how I got my first music publishing job, because Vivian Scott Chu helped me. My son was very young at the time. And I was at my desk crying because my son's father was being cheap and wasn't giving me money. And Vivian walked by my desk and was like, you know what, you need your own job so you don't have to worry about whether he gives you money or not. She's like, you know, as a matter of fact, Jocelyn Cooper is leaving Warner Chappell to start her own company, Midnight Music. And I'm gonna give Michelle, give me your resume. I'm gonna give it to Michelle Fields, who was like the vice president of Black music at Warner Chappell at the time. And you know, long story short, I got the job. And you know, that the rest is history. Well,
I didn't have to worry about him being cheap anymore.
I did not have to worry about it. In fact, it made him so angry that I didn't. He was just, you know, soon after,
wild.
he was, you know, he's a hater. He was still a hater 29 years later, unfortunately. But
some people want to be wanted or want to be needed, but they don't want, it's like a back and forth. I've seen it though in lots of relationships, not just financially, not just romantic, but yeah.
It was, I guess
they don't want to give you what you want, but then when you leave,
I didn't want to be with him. Yeah, so I guess he was trying to hurt me in some kind of way with the money thing, and then he couldn't do that and saw that I was thriving. Even as an assistant, I was thriving. You know what I mean, in the music industry. But
see, you may not be entitled to my money if we're not together anymore, but I'm not mad at your success. I don't understand. I don't get that luxury. Like I've been in the situations where you break up and there were certain bills in the house that I was solely responsible for. Like I took over all these bills and that was all my thing. It was just on my card. And now we're no longer together. So I changed those passwords and got those cards out the paint and I've had women get mad at me. And I've never understood, like, did you think that I was I was just going to keep rocking? Because I can't come over and see you in that red thing anymore as often as I want to. So
how as often, not anymore, but as often.
No, before it was on request. Hey, tonight, the red thing. Let's get it going. You know, I just paid, I've paid the mortgage. Let's see that red thing. Yeah, like, you know, now if
pay for play, buddy. Hey,
if I'm out the house, like these things are no longer my obligation. But I've never been. I don't understand the mentality of being upset that someone who doesn't need you financially is thriving and getting ahead. I've never.
It's insecurity. It's fear that because they're doing well, they won't look back and miss you or come back to you. That's it. It's just insecurity.
I never looked back. Like it was, but you know, we had a very contentious co-parenting relationship from that point on, you know.
You think your son came through all right?
My son's fine. Yeah.
Pretty good.
My son's great. He's a good kid.
Is that your only one?
And I call him, he's a good kid.
Is that your only one?
Yeah, he's my only one. And he's 29. He's gonna be 30 in January. We're about to have a 30-year-old.
Whoa. That's big. That's dope.
Just live in New York.
Golf clap. Stop everything for the golf clap. That deserves a golf clap, because you don't look like you have a 30-year-old anything. Like sweater, sun, shoes,
face,
hairdo. Yeah, like nothing about you says I've had something for 30 years, like at all, period.
It's pretty amazing to me. I can't believe 30 years, almost 30 years.
Actually, I met you at Chuck Bones' 50th. Is that correct? Or do we know each other before? I think
before that, I didn't make it to Chuck Bones' 50th because it was snowing that night.
Oh, it was. And
I love Chuck Bones, one of my dearest friends. So
I've seen you again with him several other times. So I was misremembering.
Probably with him, or was it him? No.
Are we gonna remember this?
I forget.
I think it was based on our haircuts, though. I think it was based on the fact that I was pretty much bald, and you had your hair real low, and that's how the whole thing started. I've met several women because of that, which is awesome to me. And I want to know your opinion on this. As a Black woman, you, not me, clearly. I used to have long, straight, you know, this is my actual texture. It comes out my head straight and blonde, right? Mm-hmm. Which is what a lot of women around the world are told is ideal hair, right? and spend a lot of money trying to achieve. So when I cut my hair off, I got so much love from other cultures, women with different textures that no longer felt threatened by me.
Wow.
And it was old, bigger Black women that were like, girl, your haircut, girl, you look good. And I was like, these are the women that would see me come through and just hate before because of insecurities, because of what the world has told them about white women with blonde hair.
Right.
And so for you with short hair, how does it change life and interactions? And because you don't do processes on it, and you don't have to sew and glue just tell me about that.
It's been so liberating for me. I cut my hair back in 2013, and I had long hair. I've done it all. I've had long hair. I've had extensions. I did it all. And then one day I was just like, I'm sick of hair. I'm so sick of hair. And I was like, I think I'm going to cut it off. So I met a girl that had a beautiful pixie cut. And I was like, I think a pixie cut is, because before then it was like short haircuts, to me were like gospel singers. Gospel singer cuts, those.
Oh.
You know what I'm talking about? I was
like a Sharon Osbourne or something. You do those little.
Right. Yeah. I was like, yeah. So, but when the pixie cut became popular, I was like, I think I could do that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and when I did it, oddly enough, I was still trying to, I bought little curling irons. I was still trying to curl my hair.
Oh my.
I thought I had to still curl it until one day, oh shit, there's a wasp. What is that?
Oh, it just flew in front of the camera. I literally just saw that.
Look, what is
a big old bug?
Look like a helicopter just flew.
Trying to get the spray out again. They come every year. One day I molded it like my stylist does, she'll wash it, then she'll put this Nairobi hair mousse on it, and then just like sculpt it a little bit. And that day, I forget what I was doing, but somehow it wound up drying naturally, and it looked good. I was like, oh, I didn't know.
You didn't have to do all the other stuff.
I didn't have to do all the other stuff. So from that day on, I don't own a curling iron. I don't own a blow dryer. I do have one of those portable dryers because I do have to rinse my hair now because I get these grays, and I'm not ready to go gray yet. So, and I don't have enough to go completely gray anyway. So I do rinse my hair darker. And that's the only reason why I have a dryer. But every day of the year, especially if I'm working out and I sweat, I wash and go. So it's the most liberating thing I've ever done. I will say that unless it's a wig, you will never see me in hair again.
Okay. I love wigs, and I also know, I think most men will respect that we have the option to put on costumes if we want to, right? I mean, we put on dresses that barely fit, heels that are hard to walk in. We can wear lashes and wigs if we want to, but they also generally prefer
natural,
closer to natural.
Thank you.
I don't own a wig. I say that to say
I have like 20,
but I've always considered buying one. I think I want to switch it up one day, but I haven't bought one yet.
Maybe we'll go together.
Listen, we were going to into another place before we got off into the hair chronicles. I want to talk about what dating is like now for you. First of all, I'd be remiss if I didn't point out the fact that you are not what anyone thinks of when you hear 50 plus. It doesn't look like this, especially when I was a kid. I didn't know what 50 looked like, but it didn't look like this. Like,
I think of my mom perpetually as 45, and that's a middle-aged woman. Like, because she was 45 when I was, I don't know, 15. Right. Something like that.
I distinctly remember when my mother was 50. I was like in the clubs. I was 20, thinking they're so old. And now I'm older than that. And I'm like, I thought my parents were so old. Dating for me now is fun.
I can imagine.
Is it fun? Why is it fun? Like what?
Because where I am, not just the way I look, but my head, I kind of do whatever I want, and I'm pretty good at discerning bullshit real quickly. Mm-hmm. But I I can hang out with somebody, know that they're not someone I want to be in a relationship with, but still have a good time and not get caught up.
Okay. That's a valuable lesson.
Super valuable.
A lot of guys end up dating younger women because they can, it's a general consensus, even if most guys wouldn't admit to it or even think it through, but they date younger women because they don't have to put up with a mature mindset or an older woman's, I say older woman, more mature or whatever, stronger mindset, more discerning, if you will. A lot of young women would just go with the flow because they don't really know yet how things are supposed to go or what they want. So, older guys could just tell you what you want. You're like, oh, I guess that's what I want.
Well, I'll tell you this. There are a lot of, I feel like a lot of women my age have aged well and look pretty good. These men out here my age are looking crazy.
Okay.
Ray, I'm telling you, I'm like, it is, you'd be hard pressed to find a really nice looking, fit man who takes care of his teeth and skin. It's like 47, 48 is like the cutoff, I find.
Okay.
Yeah, because I feel like men don't prepare themselves for aging. Like they think, especially, a good looking guy like Meg, you just, you comb your beard a little bit. Not you, Meg, but
Meg, not you, Meg. What the hell just happened?
No. But like, I think men don't try hard. They don't prepare for aging. They don't use the skin. They don't get into the skincare like we do. They don't.
Well, you're also talking about a certain age group of people that came up in a certain time. So guys now that are coming up in their 20s and 30s now are so much more aware, and you can call it metrosexual or you can call it whatever, vain, but also the social media era. So they know they're on camera a lot more. But these guys that you're talking about that are like 50, 55 now didn't do that in the 80s, 90s. Yeah.
Well, let me speak on behalf of the fellas one time. beauty skincare, even health, unfortunately, 9 times out of 10 it's not our test in life. Those aren't the things that society gets at us about. It's making money. You have money, you can get the flyest looking woman in the world. That's what any guy will tell you. A certain amount of money, you can get like whatever you want. She'll see past it. Skin. Yeah, there's no such thing as an ugly billionaire. Like, you can whatever you want to say.
I guess a lot of women are like that. I've never been that kind of woman. I've never been that kind of. I can never dig for gold because I don't take that.
My problem is that I think you're attractive if I like you, and even if the world doesn't agree.
Right.
Like, you'll let someone off the hook on a lot of things, whether it's just genetic shapes of things or how they take care of certain things, like somebody that's overweight or something. If I'm in love, it's cushy.
You can't start out that way. Like if it happens over time, you gain some weight, but if we're starting from day one, I feel like some things, if you love yourself, certain things are a priority for you, and taking care of yourself physically, mentally, all those things mean that you love yourself, and I get making money. I think the more money you make, the better you should even take care of yourself.
If there's time to get, first of all, I believe male, female, letting yourself go is a sign of disrespect to your partner. I absolutely 100% will always stand by that. I'm not talking about the things that come with age and attrition and all that. I'm not talking about that.
I'm not saying you have to look like an Adonis either. I'm just saying.
No, but if you've completely just decided, if you've consciously or subconsciously, and most times it's consciously, if you've made the decision that it's okay for me to look like this because I already got him or I already got her or I'm paying for X, Y, and Z, I think that's a sign of disrespect. I think if you expect me as a man to only sleep with you for the rest of my days and this is what I come home to and you don't care what it looks like, I think I think you've just told me that you just given me your ass to kiss 100%, like 1,000%.
It's like an ego. it's like a very arrogant thing too. It's like, you'll forgive me because I have money, or like everyone will forgive my faults because I'm already in, or I already have the money or the status or something. I have a theory, and I want to figure it out for women, but I've thought more about how men present themselves because of, my younger dating years. I say younger dating years. What am I talking about? When I was figuring men out, right, in my early 20s, I think that men lead with one of three things. You can have all three, or you can have just one, or none, or two. But what you lead with says a lot about you. So I say, if you lead with looks, if men lead with looks, oftentimes it's like a model type dude who wants to be treated like a woman, like things paid for, doors open for him. He doesn't think about the other person because he thinks of himself as the prize, right? So then there's guys that lead with money, whether it's old money or new money. They believe that money can cover over for their flaws, right? You can be rude to people, got money. You can be fat, got money, right? You don't have to be very polite, you paid for dinner, so you don't have to pull her chair out, type of bullshit. But then there's guys that lead with charisma and have like personality, humor, and persona, right? And I find that guys that lead with that tend to have the other two, because if you're a better person on the inside in your brain, you tend to be thoughtful, pull her chair out. You tend to take care of yourself, your body, your health, because you're thoughtful, you're thinking about these things, you want a long life, and you tend to have more money because you're responsible, you are intelligent, you work hard, you have a good work ethic because your personality says, I gotta work and make some money and take care of things. Right. So just pay attention to what people lead with. They might have them all, but if they lead with persona instead of their Ferrari keys, you're way better off. If they lead with a joke instead of their chests a little unbuttoned and showing off too much, if they lead with the persona, you're way better off.
Angelique, real quick before you even go, which one did I lead with? When we first met, which one did I lead with?
Charisma and humor.
Nice. Had to be.
And he
don't have a lot of money.
You have the other two. You have
it works like her theory works.
I did not have the other two at the time that I met Miss Miles. So that
I found that guys that lead with celebrity oftentimes also, even if they have money but they lead with their fame, which is like the good looks thing. They want to be wanted for their fame or for what you perceive them to have. And then a lot of times they don't give you the kindness, thoughtfulness that you really would prefer.
This is an interesting theory. I think I'd like to test this out.
And I want to figure out the women's side of it too.
No. I want to figure out. I only want to discuss this from the woman's side. I think our female guests I gotta stop saying female. I think our women guests from now on, I think I think that's a very interesting theory. There's no way, first of all, there's no way for me to know as a guy. There's no way that I would experience this. I don't date men. I mean, so right. What the hell would I know?
But you can observe how guys come up to women. You can observe how men approach women. Is it
it's different for
buying the drink? Is it a
different for
compliment?
It's different for every woman, right?
And no one way is wrong. It's how you do it. Offering to buy a woman drinks isn't leading with money. That can be leading with a compliment. That can be thoughtful, her and her friends or something like that. It's like, oh wow, that's so kind. It's like he bought us drinks and stayed out the way and let us continue our conversation.
Okay, see, now this is where it gets interesting, because I would never lead with a drink. What was that?
Weird. I don't know. I think that was a repeat of my words. Just got garbled
Good. Seriously, you consider yourself lucky. It was terrible. I would never lead with a drink, but it's because I don't drink.
Right.
So I always feel weird offering somebody something and then they turn around and go, "Aren't you having one?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not." That's
always, like poisoning somebody. Be like, "Well, you drink it first."
It almost feels like I'm trying to set you up. Like
you get drunk, I'll watch.
Right.
I was taught early on. My dad was always suspicious. He's like, never let somebody buy you a drink and always keep your drink covered. Always hold on to your drink and keep it covered.
My mom always said, make sure you see it poured.
I would never let anybody just come with me and hand me a drink anyway. So that's okay.
Well, yeah, my thing is like seeing it poured. Seeing the bartender pour it is important.
Or the server brings it.
Whoever,
to me, but not You're not just gonna bring me a drink and I drink
Here's
it.
this martini, young lady.
Meanwhile, it's like bubbling and smoking and like.
Looking like
To
Snow
be-
White's evil witch. Yeah.
Getting over 50 is fun for me because I don't take it too seriously.
How do you meet people? Do you do online? Do you?
So a little bit of everything. I think because of where we are in this world now, I've met people online. Whether it be years ago, I met someone on Instagram. We're still friends to this day.
I met lots of people through Instagram that ended up being real friends
we
or
wound up being
contacts or
cool.
whatever. And I'm like, did I meet them online? It was social media.
I did the dating apps like recently, and I just wanted to do it to open myself up to some things because I can get really closed off if I let myself be. And I just like if I want to meet someone, I might I might have a coffee or brunch with someone that I know this isn't really going anywhere, but just to open myself up to like the male energy.
It's a good like exercise or almost experiment just to be back out in social land.
Yeah,
Especially after the pandemic.
that too. And it's been interesting because I do get a lot of younger people, and there's some that have been very mature or very, grown, and there's others who try to good morning me to death and stuff like that. I'm like, you're not gonna good morning me to death.
Say something else. Say something else. I dare you.
What can I do for you, sir?
How do you describe yourself on a dating app, or what's your profile blurb? What would you say?
Oh, I don't really describe too much on there because, and this is probably I don't mean to sound.
Here we go.
My pictures, people attracted to how I look. There's not but so much I can say on one of these things that's going to turn. I might say, like on Hinge, I think I'm a Star Wars fan. Like people would never guess. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. Stuff like that. Maybe things like
Force be with you.
I don't say too much.
Okay. I'm just curious because
pretty girl privilege right there. You caught that? She's leading with her looks. Did you catch that, or did you just leave that where it is? She's leading with her looks. Well, that's what I said.
That's why I said I want to figure out my theory based on my thinking of how us women, because the world says we should lead with looks, but I would over time. I mean, my favorite quote, and even someone said, "Oh, that's a line." Like he probably says that to all the girls. Andre Harrell, R.I.P., told me that I'm way smarter than I am pretty, and that's what you tell a pretty girl, because we really would rather be smart, be respected for our minds, not just a body face or whatever. Yeah, I love being pretty, I love being attractive, but that can't be the only thing. I don't want you to just like me for that. I said this in a poem about my ex-husband. I said, you put me in a box, you wanted me for Christmas, but you never wanted to open it and find out what's inside. You wanted me with a pretty bow on top under the tree, but you didn't really want to open it up and find out who I am. And that's way more important to me than just being dressed up and cute.
Well, my father, another thing that my father always told me, my father's a very wise man.
I love y'all fathers.
He sat me down one day in this living room right here and said, "You're pretty, but pretty girls are a dime a dozen. It means nothing to be pretty. You have to be smart. You have to be other things."
It's bait.
I was never, no one in my family ever told me I was pretty. I thought I was a dog.
Oh my.
Thinking I was a dog until I was like damn near 13 or 14 years old. Seriously. They were like,
my family said that wanting to be pretty was shallow, materialistic, egotistical. So they said basically, if you're not giving everything away to go be in the Peace Corps, you're not a good person. So like wanting to be pretty was like frowned on.
My brothers had me thinking, he was like, my brothers were like, you have Spock ears, you have huge lips, like you're just gross. So one day, I think I walked to the store up here and someone came to me and was like, "Oh, my neighbors, Daryl and such always look for you to come around the corner." Cause this stuff was like, really? I never
checking for me.
I was like, pretty girls are a dime a dozen. And to this day, yes, I think naturally I lead with that, but it takes a real special person to uncover the mask and see that there's so much more substance.
Well, that's also another piece, is that the women, people are trying to, I would say, forgive me, get inside us, if you will, physically, and the goal is to crack the
But not
mask. Right, they're trying to like, the goal is to get behind the mask, whether it's physically or emotionally or, you know, even conversationally. Hey ma, hey ma, hey ma. Like, they're trying to get you to smile or turn around or give them the time of day, right? So that is our protection, is being a little bit lead with the mask and not available to the masses.
Yeah, because you learn as you get older, or a few experiences, you uncover the mask to the wrong person, and you become vulnerable to wrong people who don't have good intentions, or you know, who have bad intentions. Actually, you know what I mean? It becomes,
or at least incongruous with yours.
the mask becomes like solidified as you get older. You're looking at people like, you know, and I learned early on to, like, I have girlfriends who meet a guy and tell them their whole life story and what they're going through. I'm like, he doesn't deserve all that yet. Like, you meet some people who you tell that to, and then they use it against you somehow. You know what I mean? I'm like, letting people into that. So I used to go to this Bible study years ago. A.R. Bernard, Curtis Martin used to have it, and A.R. Bernard was the person who led it. And he had, I'll never, like, of all the sermons he gave, this is the one I never forgot. There were four stages of intimacy. The first is acquaintance. The second, no, first is introduction. The second is acquaintance. The third is friendship. And then the last is intimacy. So when you meet a person and you go straight to intimacy, and I'm not talking about sex, you always have to double back and get the acquaintance and get to know the person and get to the friendship.
Right.
Meanwhile, you become vulnerable to this person you don't even know.
Well, and also love is attachment. And once you get attached to somebody, you can be attached to somebody that you don't even know. You can feel like love vibes. And that's what they say, the oxytocin or something. There's an actual chemical that's released when you have sex. And when you're, you know, physically intimate with somebody, that people that sleep together without much talking, you can feel like you love them, even if you barely know them. You can feel attached to them and not want to let them go, even if to the other person it was just,
well, it might be really good.
I think that I had that. I think that was when I was younger. As I gotten older, and I don't know, maybe it's a hormonal thing. Maybe it's I'm just.
She's like, no, that don't come out. I can have.
It doesn't.
Okay. Well, I think also.
I got nothing.
I think younger people are also searching for attachment because they feel.
That's what you're looking for. Like, sometimes you can say, "That's all I want from them." No, and not get caught up into anything else. But I've had girlfriends who asked me, like, I known people for years that sometimes we get together, sometimes we don't, and they're like, "How don't you get caught up?" I'm like, "I just don't, because I know he's not the one."
If
you could sell that and bottle it, I would buy some.
No, it would. She wouldn't have to if people would subscribe to more honesty and less judgment. There are girlfriends there are a lot of women who have circles, just like Angelique is describing, where their girlfriends are way more judgmental. Like, way more judgmental. It's a lot more judgment in it. And because people are afraid of their truth, you're never going to get to the point where you can be honest and kind of, I won't say skip the line, but you definitely can't get to the front. You have to uncover all this nonsense. I personally, because I'm so indifferent to a lot of people and situations and circumstances, like I'm indifferent to a lot of that stuff. My honesty is like right in front. It's nothing that I need to it's nothing that needs to be earned necessarily, but it's right there. Hey, what are you after? What are you looking for? What are you trying to do? What are you thinking about this? And if you don't know yourself well enough, you're going to have a real problem dealing with me, because you won't be able to give me honest answers. And even if you don't know, and you say you don't know.
I figured out like last week what I want.
See how fast that happens?
But asking
is the key, because like I said, I've dealt with some guys you would think are like on the surface are amazing people and like and maybe
it's a catch, right?
But for me, I'm like, no, I know myself. And although I have a nice time with this person and he's a nice person, he's not for me.
Mhm.
But I can have a nice time. And that's it.
Good for you.
Fair enough.
Good for you. Like
Fair
we
enough.
we should all be so lucky if there was less judgment, if there were less people. If
I don't feel like my friends judge me in that, and I don't feel like I think more women are like this.
I would say self-judgment is the problem. A lot of times people
don't
like questioning if they're doing the right thing, questioning if what I'm doing is okay, questioning like, is this the social status quo? Is this like, I talked to somebody recently about basically women versus men, like, you know, the double standard of a man's the man, if he can have a lot of women, a woman's a hoe or a slut if she has too many men. But I think that there's some physiological reasons for that we don't naturally, most of us actually thrive on lots of random partners. But there are women that can do it, do it, you know, like shout out to Amber Rose and her slut walk. If that's what you want to do, cool.
That's be random, but
well, not random, but I'm saying like different partners or regular rotation or whatever people want to call slutty moves. And like I said with Amber Rose and the slut walk, if whatever slut shaming you want to do, just chill out on that, because some women can and want to do it differently than you.
Right.
But I think there's a physiological reason that a lot of us don't.
Right.
A lot of the I don't like the term double standard when we start talking about sex between men and women. It's not a double standard. It's just a standard. The rules of engagement are totally different from one side to the next. Men only control access to relationships, but women control access to sex. So if you're having sex with a lot of different men, that's completely on your control. Whereas if a man is having sex with a lot of different women, he's being allowed by a lot of different women to, right. He's being granted the access as opposed to someone who's giving the access away. So whereas I don't judge at all. I don't judge at all for doing what I would do if I were probably you. Like if I was an attractive woman and I could sleep with men who I found attractive, I'd probably be unhinged to a degree. Like I could see what
get some pee, you get some pussy.
I could see what my early 20s would be like, because I don't judge. I feel like all people should do the thing that makes them happy, that doesn't hurt anyone else. As long as you're not hurting anyone, I think you should have carte blanche to do it. And when I say anything, I mean anything. Like if a woman comes to, I've had deep discussions with women who I was involved with who were afraid to have children because they didn't want their bodies going X, Y, Z, A, B, and C. Mm-hmm. I respected it because first of all, I'm not having any kids. It's not me. So I get that. And second thing is, well, I'm like, all right, well, what you want to do? Like if after the baby, you want to go get something fixed, you want to pick it, it fell down, you want to pick it up, go do it. It went flat, you want it round, go do it. Like here's the money, go knock that out, because these are the things that will make, if this is going to make you happy, if this is going to, who am I to judge? I'm not mad at any of that stuff. My whole thing is, I think if there were less judgment, I think if we stopped pointing fingers at people who did the things that weren't for us necessarily, or we weren't into, or we had never even tried, because most people who are shitting on these experiences, they're experiences you've never had. You're just shitting on them for whatever reason. And I think way too much of it is wrapped up in other people's perception. As much as we like to say for self, it turns into, is this okay? How do I feel about this? The underlying is, how do I feel about this based on what somebody's going to say, or based on what people think?
2 questions. One is, does it affect me? If not, don't worry about it. Would I do it if it weren't for judgment? Also, oh, well, then let them go do their thing. Mm-hmm. We got to ask those 2 questions though. Like, as you're about to judge someone, be like, does it really affect me? Yeah.
Exactly.
And if it doesn't, let them be. Or would I do that if no one was watching? Would I do that too? Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah. Like,
right. You're not breaking.
Go enjoy.
You're not a homewrecker. You're not, doing things like that. It's like, do you?
Now, the
Yeah.
next step is if you discover that you would do something, if the question is, would I do this if no one was watching, right? And you discover that the answer is yes, the next question you should ask yourself is, why do I need people to not be watching? That's the next question. Why does it have to be, why can't I do
Why
this?
can't I do it in public or publicly?
Why do I?
it took, when it comes to that, caring about what people think, it took me going through what I went through, like financial trauma, not having what I went through a lot to get to that place of, I don't really care what anybody thinks because these people don't care about me anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But why do I care what they think? And that, I think that's why I am the way that I am now. I do whatever I want. As long as I'm not hurting anybody else, I do what I want. And I don't care what anybody else thinks.
Somebody pointed out, they're like, if they're not paying the bills, why do they control your actions? No, just if they're not controlling the happenstances of your life, right? Like
that's, let me tell you something. When I was trying to get back into the music industry or entertainment, I was caring about what people thought, because I'm like, this person could give me a gig, this person giving me a check. But I'm doing something so outside of that scope now. I'm like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. None of you take my check at all. You know what I mean? I do think, yeah, the money would, where you get your money from definitely has an impact on what you do around certain people.
Oh, sure.
But since my money comes from someplace else completely, like I don't know half the people send me. I don't know the people that send me checks these days.
You don't have to please them. They send.
I've never met these people, but whereas before my money was dependent on people I knew and
right, personal relationships with them.
Yeah. What you think doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That doesn't mean I'm just wilding. I'm not wilding.
Right, right.
But also when you know your value, and people are coming to you for your value, you're like, you came to me. You see value in my brand and my talent or my look or whatever. And so you hired me. So I'm going to keep doing what I was doing that attracted you to me in the first place. You want to spend money on whatever I do. So I'm going to keep doing what I do.
Unless they have a tool to enhance what it is you're doing now, there's nothing, there's really
if I got
nothing
invited to a bigger radio station with a lot of money and they say you can't curse, I might adjust my cursing. Right. But I'm not going to stop being me. I'm not going to stop being honest. I'm not going to, because then I'm not fit for your radio station if I can't be me.
Right.
Well, there are plenty of, unfortunately, there are plenty of corporate people who bring that mentality into their business, into their work, music business, entertainment business in general. There are plenty of people who will see the product as is and look to modify it, as opposed to doing the legwork to go find a different product personality that already suits their needs a little bit better. I can, for me, it's like hiring a model and asking her to wear a wig or asking her to wear more makeup than she had on.
Asking her to lose weight before the shoot.
Right. 5 days.
Some shit.
Right. I don't
book me. I'm going to work out hard before the shoot because I want to look my best, but
that's I don't know why I brought up modeling around two models. Like, that was such a mistake.
I'm not a model.
Yes, you are.
What do you consider yourself? We actually have to get off here soon. We're over our hour.
I'm not spending the last couple minutes hearing her tell me why she isn't what she exactly is.
I want to know what you consider yourself. I want to know what you consider yourself as your career. What is your career called?
I'm a creator. I'm an influencer.
Okay.
I'm not a model.
Well, you know what? I had to argue. Go ahead.
Wait. Go ahead. No. Go ahead, Angelique.
I was going to say models can sometimes be nameless. Like a model can just
a mannequin. Yeah.
And for me, I'm the brand. I'm selling the brand as me, as Angelique Miles. And I am creating the content for them. They're not like come to the studio at 8 a.m. and stay there all day and shoot for us. And we're just gonna.
We own the pictures and thanks for your work.
I create the content, and it's me who is selling the product.
Well, it switched. There was a time when models, like even the Naomi's, they made a name for themselves, but what they did was sell clothes for other people. And you, even as an influencer, you still do that. But then it switched, and they no longer hired models for L'Oreal. They hired, the Desperate Housewives, because they had a big show. So even if they don't have the perfect model face, they're so recognizable that people will buy what they have. And that's the beginning of the influencer. Like, you start hiring a famous actress to sell your perfume because Charlize Theron is, awesome. So I'll get the gold perfume from Dior because I like her already, not because, she was a model before, whatever, but it switched. And now Instagram modeling we're modeling, but you're still influencing based on your self.
What do you say, Matt?
He doesn't buy it.
Fellas, go and head over to Angelique Miles and go and spin through the photos one time, and you tell me if I'm lying or not. That's all I'm going. I'm not going to argue this. This is ridiculous.
I'm not with an agency. I don't have managers.
So you're a Ronin.
No, you're not a model, but you model.
Yeah. So you're a Ronin. That doesn't mean anything.
I say you're not a model, but you model as a verb. Okay. You model clothes, but you're the creator.
I can accept that.
Don't sit here and tell me that I don't see exactly what I'm seeing. You got on the big glasses. Mine are clear. I know what I'm looking at.
Right. The sun is shining.
I'm not even going to tell y'all how, we postponed this interview so she could get her eyebrows together, and now we can't see them.
My haircut and my lashes.
Lashes are everything. This is one day I don't have anything.
Yeah, which we cannot see at all. This is the first peek we're actually getting at them.
But they look good, girl.
Oh no, I was looking crazy last week. I was like, I want to do this for Meg, but I look crazy right now.
What?
Well, you look crazy good now. So everybody go check her out.
Well, see, I would have been like, I wouldn't have done it with so much confidence. I like to look like, just be well groomed and just together, like
a sense of pride. Yeah, it's not ego.
You got to do it like nobody's watching. We just talked about that. You got to do it whether people are seeing it or not, because we're all seeing the same thing, which is exactly why I'm glad you came to the show. Please let everybody know where they can go find all your stuff.
At Angelique Miles is my tag for everywhere. That's Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
And name some of these dope hashtags that I helped you come up with. Wait, once upon a time.
Was it Fit Over 50? Because that's what's gotten me over. That's what got me the Tamron Hall show and all these things. But my brand has expanded since it's no longer really just fitness. It's evolved into lifestyle.
Yeah.
On my page.
That's cool. I'm still gonna request some pancakes or crab cakes or something.
What happens in August when it's Fit Over 55? I said, what happens in August when it's Fit Over 55?
55, I've never felt the way about my age, but 55 is kind of freaking me out.
Okay.
Like 55, like I'm almost 60.
You know what's going to happen?
Don't start jumping 5-year periods.
No.
No, 55 is almost 56.
No, leave her. I'll tell you exactly what's going to happen. It's going to hit. You're going to wake up and feel the exact same way that you feel right now.
I'm sure, but still.
Yeah, no, but still, you're totally gonna get up and be like, oh, well, here we go. And
here's proof that somebody that really is showing everybody else how to be confident up to 50, over 50, and it still feels it. So like, even if you're concerned, nervous, anxious about getting older, like she feels it too. I'm saying this to like the people that are listening, and yet, what do? We persevere. We continue on and look fabulous, feel fabulous.
You keep being fit over 50. Like the
hashtag
doesn't change.
You created. Yeah.
This is a fountain of youth, so I will continue.
I rest my case. Y'all sit here and fuss about this if you want. I said what I said.
We're agreeing.
It's gonna be exactly what I said. Just watch. Day after the birthday, it's like, oh, well, that was pointless. Okay, what's for breakfast?
Island on a beach somewhere. Absolutely.
Woo-hoo.
You know what? Yeah, I'm done with this. Yeah. Figure out a way to pull up. In the meantime, in between time, I'm your man, Mr. Mac.
And I'm Crystal Levin.
This has been the M+M+M Show, aka the
show.
May you live as long as you want and never want as long as you live. Do us all a favor. Go get laid. Peace.
Thank you.